Good afternoon, all you beautiful people. I woke up this morning with something on my mind, and usually when I wake up in the morning, it's messages or something that I need to deal with. I've had this on my mind actually for a few days now, and so I started writing down some of the things that were in my mind to share them on Facebook. But it was too long, so I decided to make my very first video um, of just me talking. I've shared a few videos of some sessions, excerpts from sessions, and will continue to do so. But I really wanted to talk about this today, and you're the perfect people to talk about it with. Hopefully you will understand, and if you don't, maybe you're not ready to understand at this time. So I'm just going to read this. I'm going to try to not sound like I was reading it, but I'm going to have to put these on because, you know, age. I read this to my husband when he came home on his lunch break, and I got really emotional. I'm going to try to get through this without getting too emotional. I want to talk about something dear to my heart today, something that's had much to do with me waking up as any other thing in this world. Michael Jackson. Michael left his physical vessel, the one we all know as Michael Joseph Jackson, 10 years ago today. But I personally know that he did not leave this realm to never look back. Michael Jackson is one of the brightest shining souls that's ever inhabited this earthly plane, in my lifetime anyway. Let me give you a backstory of why I adore this soul so much. Growing up, I heard of the Jackson 5, of course, and I heard Michael Jackson's music on the radio. I owned one album, Thriller. I actually had the cassette. I have so many memories of those songs. Certain friends at McFarland Park, dancing to PYT, etc. Yet I would not have been categorized as a huge Michael Jackson fan. My dad played country music in a local band, even recorded a couple of tracks on an album with some of the local artists in the area 40 some odd years ago. When I was 5 years old in 1975, I learned the song Let Me Be There by Olivia Newton-John by heart and sang it for him. He put me on stage with him that night. This continued until I was 9 or 10. I was more involved in country than pop at that time. The records I listened to mostly during my childhood and teenage years consisted of music. I'm going to have to put my glasses back on. Sorry. Consisted of music that my dad had accumulated over the years. Lefty Frizzell, George Jones, Mac Vickery, Hank Williams, Reba McEntire, Don Williams, Freddie Hart, Ed Bruce, and of course, Tanya Tucker. My very own album I got from Santa when I was 6 years old. I still adore her to this day. If I considered myself a huge fan of any one artist, it was Tanya. Listening to her songs took you to other places. They told stories. I owned many of her records. In later years, it was Randy Travis, George Strait, and my favorite male country artist, Alan Jackson. I saw him 3 years in a row in Birmingham. The only concerts I attended other than one here in town was Richard Marx. Michael Jackson was just sort of in the background at this time. I loved all sorts of music, any kind. The only music I would not listen to was rap, mainly the rap that had negative lyrics. I would change the station if I heard negative stuff like that. I heard Michael's music along with all sorts of other music, period. One of my wake-up calls came in 2003 when the Martin Bashir documentary, Living with Michael Jackson, aired. I hadn't planned to watch it. It was just on. And my husband was switching between programs, watching it along with a couple of other shows. When a commercial would come on one show, he would flip to another. As I watched this show, listening to Martin Bashir and Barbara Walters chime in with their thoughts about it, I began to get upset. What I was seeing was a man who had been out of the public scene for some time, putting his trust in this man, Martin Bashir, because he had interviewed Diana, Princess Diana, I think, and showing him who he is completely, openly, and honestly. I saw him for who he truly was in that moment, and they did not. Or if they did not find it sensational enough to just let it play and let the world decide. I think maybe they just didn't understand what he truly is. Pure, unbounded, unconditional love. Many of the people watching were drawn into their belief system as well. The ignorant people could not understand this type of pure, unconditional love. They could only see through their filters. I could see it though, and I was livid by the end of the show. I had a sudden knowing that he had not molested any children and an injustice had been done to this man. When that show ended, my 3-month research began. My husband said I was obsessed. I searched the internet for anything and everything I could find about Michael Jackson. I remembered hearing on the news that Michael Jackson was accused of molesting a young boy in 1999. I started reading every article I could find about that. I found lots of information, but none of the information I found convinced me that my gut feeling was wrong. I found websites dedicated to Michael Jackson and chat rooms full of Michael Jackson fans. I made a couple of great friends there. On one of the websites, I came across poems and short stories written by Michael from a book that was published in 1992 entitled Dancing the Dream. I am still in awe to this day when I read those. I even wrote a poem about Michael. I always say it wrote itself. The words came faster than I could type. It was nothing like these he wrote, but pretty awesome anyway. All the things I found only verified the gut feeling that I had about Michael that night watching that documentary. I was devastated to see on the news that Neverland was being raided on my birthday. I cried. I felt so bad for this man that I'd come to know as a sweet, sweet, loving soul who had put all his energy into helping as many people as he could, especially children. I watched with bated breath as the trial proceeded. All of the news channels, every single one, hoping this man would go to prison, convicting him in the court of public opinion. Court TV covered it daily, as one reporter would go inside and take notes and come out and report what was said in the courtroom at lunch, and then again at the end of the day, all the while covering his story in a biased way all day, every day, telling things that were not verified as fact. They were really hoping he would go to prison. It would have made them billions if he had. Just imagine, they could cover the sentencing hearing, him being transferred to prison, on and on. But that did not happen. Our justice system worked. The 12 men and women who heard the evidence found him not guilty 14 times. Hallelujah. I was so happy that day, but the damage was done. This really woke me up. I thought it was just a message to get me to see that the news channels are all deceptive, to help me to stop believing them. But there was more to it than that. Once I stopped believing the news and seeing it for what it really is, many other things began to surface. I know them as messages from my higher self now, but then I had no idea where they came from. If you still have doubts about the character of Michael Jackson, I beg you to go and listen to some of his songs, like Ben, Earth Song, Lost Children, Will You Be There, Another Part of Me, Can You Feel It, Cry, which Michael Jackson didn't write, Heal the World, and We Are the World, just to name a few, or just read the lyrics. Also, read some of the poems from Dancing the Dream, The Little Fish That Was Thirsty, Angel of Light, I, You, We, and my very favorite, Are You Listening? There are YouTube videos created with these as well. I don't believe there's any possible way that someone as spiritually evolved as Michael Jackson could even contemplate something that is of such a low vibration. His purpose was to spread these messages, to wake people up from the sleepwalking state. I thank God he helped me to wake up. I know, he's human too, but he cared too much for the good of all to cause that type of harm to people. It was all about money and greed, and it still is. Every person that comes to this earth with these messages have a tough row to hoe. There is lots of resistance. Don't be afraid to share your light. Your soul never dies. It just transforms. I see it like a tree when it goes dormant in the winter, then is reborn in the spring. The cycle happens for growth and evolution to happen. From a seed, this happens again and again until the tree is fully grown, and even after that. It's a little easier to shine your light now that more and more people are waking up and the energy's changing. And we make that happen by bringing in the light. To Michael's family, I want to tell his family how sorry I am that they have had to endure so much pain by seeing him dragged through the mud all these years while he was living, since his death, and even recently. You've continued to show what a strong, close-knit, loving family you always were and always will be. You continue to support and defend Michael for the wonderful, loving soul he is. Thank you all. If you want the truth about the newest attempt at demonizing him, it's all there for you to see. Just listen to all the information on both sides and then listen to your gut. I will put the link to Thomas Meserau's interview in the description. I would also like to commend Tom for all his loving support of Michael. He was his angel on earth. I will always love and respect this man for this. And here's what Michael had to say about it. Lies run sprints, the truth runs marathons. Well said, Mr. Jackson. To Michael, thank you for bringing in your light and spreading it to all who need it. I needed it. The documentary wasn't a mistake. I saw through the lies. I'm sure many others did and still are. I love you more. With LOVE. This world is a little darker without Michael Jackson shining his light in physical form. But he left plenty of light behind for you to use as a guide, and he's not gone. Love lives forever. There have been many people who have had dreams of Michael, myself included, and some who have had visions, heard him coming through in audio recordings, etc. Michael is not special in that way. We are all energy, and just transform when our earthly body dies. I guess he wasn't finished with helping change this earth, like Dolores Cannon. She's still showing up everywhere as well. Well, that's enough for now. Listen to your own higher self. Listen to that gut feeling when it happens. The more you listen, the more messages you'll get. Mine started out at a young age, around 11, as what I called, or what is called, hypnagogic sounds right before falling asleep. I would hear someone say my name. Thinking it was my mother, I would get up and go see if she came into my room and said my name. She was sleeping, so I know it wasn't her. Then later it became visions just as I was falling asleep, usually something Native American related. Then dreams. I would dream of loved ones who had passed at first, but then I had dreams of Jesus, Michael Jackson, Bill Withers, etc. Then it became signs outside of myself, repeating numbers, someone answering a question I asked God in private, etc. Now I wake up as slowly as I can and listen for the messages. I try to write down my dreams if I can hang on to it for a few minutes. Sometimes it's just the fleeting thoughts that go through your head in that state. All are messages from you, your higher self, the God self, the future you, guides, angels, however you want to look at it. Usually it's your whole team. They only have your best interest at heart. Turn off the news. Go out in nature. Just shut out the world and listen. You will hear it. Know it is truth. We look outside of ourselves for answers way too often. when the answers we seek have been right there all along, inside of us, all around us. We are never alone. Since I became a quantum healing practitioner, I've seen the client's higher self give the most loving, caring advice over and over. And they always say they've been trying to get these messages through for so long. Please just try to listen. They're trying to guide you and help you on this journey. In turn, it helps us all. Blessings to you all. Have a wonderful 4th of July. Until next time, with love. Love. Bye.